Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Unacademy, India's largest online learning portal for the preparation of competitive exams. My name is Neelam, and I'm going to be your facilitator and guide for CAT and other management exams. In today's session, we are going to talk about the verbal logic section of CAT, XAT, IIFT, and SNAP. After you are done with your CAT exam, you have started focusing on these exams which are happening in December as well as in January. Alright? So, unlike CAT, the verbal logic section of these exams is going to be a mixed bag of questions. The verbal logic of CAT was dominated by paragraph-based reasoning questions, para-jumble, odd sentence out, and summary-based questions. All three varieties of questions of verbal logic were based on paragraph understanding. But in these exams, you are going to face mixed bag of questions. You are going to face questions based on statements like finding assumptions, finding strong or weak argument, choosing correct course of action, syllogism, logical consistency. Along with that, the conventional part of verbal reasoning, that is critical reasoning and para-jumble. Alright, so for these exams, you will have to practice extensively. All the parts of verbal logic are to be done with enough practice. So in today's session, I'm going to give you the sample of all the varieties of verbal logic question which appeared in recent times. With that, I'll also give you some sources to practice these questions from. Alright, so that is what is today's agenda. Before that, let me give you a brief introduction of myself. My name is Neelam Malkani. I possess around 12 years of experience of test preparation industry and have been training students of CAT, GRE, GMAT, IIMs and TOEFL. My areas of expertise lie in verbal logic and English. I also design and set assessment papers of English for competitive exams. And I also had the opportunity to be an examiner for an international organization. Recently, I have written a comprehensive book of English for the preparation of competitive exams. The book is written in both Hindi and English and is available on Amazon. The video is brought to you by Unacademy. Let me take you to its portal and tell you how you can be part of it and start your preparation for your targeted exam. First, you have to go in the Play Store of your mobile phone and download Unacademy Learning app. After filling in all the details, you will see three offerings: plus courses, free courses, and special classes. When you have this app in your mobile phone, you can have access to free courses and special classes. You can attend those classes taken by the educators who take plus courses. But if you want to go for plus and want to prepare for CAT, you have to subscribe to the product. When you go further in the subscription, you will be shown different features that you will be availing after you subscribe to the course. Features such as 30 hours of live sessions every day. So that is the freedom you enjoy with Unacademy. You can choose the time of your session. You can choose your educator as well. So as per your availability and as per your convenience, you can choose the time of your sessions. The sessions are delivered by 14 plus top educators of India who have extensive experience of guiding, mentoring students in their respective domains. The courses which are delivered by these top educators are well structured, well designed by those people who have wealth of experience of module and curriculum designing. These courses have fine balance of concepts and testing so that you are prepared well for your exam. Every month you see a new course being launched on Unacademy portal to cater to the exclusive needs of a specific exams. Whichever course you feel you decide to go with, or whichever subscription you decide to go with, you will be shown, you will you will have to choose subscription as per your needs. If you want to go for CAT this year, that means the exams which are happening after CAT in December and January, you can go for 1 month fresh course. For that, you will have to pay 3,500 rupees. But if you are preparing for CAT 2021, you can go for yearly subscription. That is going to be 17,500 rupees. Whichever model of subscription you choose to go with, if you want further 10% discount, you have to type code Neelam. With this referral code, you will be able to avail 10% further discount, and your fee is going to come down to 3,150 for 1 month and 15,750 for a year. The fee structure is best in the industry and very pocket friendly. So just go in the Play Store, start downloading the app, learning app, and start attending classes which come under free classes and special classes. If you are contented with the quality which is delivered by these top educators, you can go for subscription model. Alright, so that's what you have to do to engage with Unacademy learning app. Now let's start with today's session, that is verbal logic of XAT, IIFT and SNAP. So types of questions which are based on verbal logic. So verbal and logic, that is understanding of English and a bit of reasoning. Fusion of both these skills will be tested by this section or by this part of English. Topics to focus on. So to excel in these exams, what topics you have to focus on in order to excel in the verbal ability part of these exams, and some sources to practice your verbal logic section. Alright, so that is what is going to be the objective of today's session. Now, as I said, I'm going to expose you to all the varieties of verbal logic questions. So let's start with very conventional part, that is parajumla. As you all must be already conversant with this variety of question which appears in CAT as well and on all management exams. So this question tests your ability to form a paragraph, to form a coherent, meaningful paragraph out of jumbled sentences. Now, the way you have experienced this in CAT, where you were not given any option. You had to type your own option. You had to devise your own answer. Here you will be given options, right? So that's a sigh of relief that the difficulty level is not that much that you have to come up with your own answer. The answers are there. 4 options will be there in terms of IIFT and SNAP and 5 options in XAT. Now, a twist is there. IIFT gives varieties of parajumla question. So it gives in a way all exams give. It also gives in a different way. So first statement is given, last statement is given. Between these 2 statements, 4 statements will be there. You will have to sequence those 4 statements only, because the position of first statement and last statement is sacrosanct. That is not to be fiddled with. IIFT also gives a statement like first part of the sentence is given. I'll take one sample and with that it will be clear to you. One part of the sentence is given. First part of the sentence is given. Only a name or a noun. And then there are fragments of a sentence. You will have to arrange them in a proper order. So IIFT keeps on creating different ways to test your understanding of forming a paragraph, but it is nothing but parajumla. And the rules which we have already learned, the do's and don'ts which you have already learned for doing parajumla question, hold true for these questions as well. There are going to be 3 to 4 questions based on parajumla and IIFT, and links are very easy to identify. Don't get puzzled in IIFT just because numbers are given, the statements are given in Latin way. Instead of ABCD, it writes 1, 2, 3 in Latin language. You don't have to be puzzled about that. What you have to focus on is the content, is the sentence. Second, it gives you different varieties of parajumla question that I am going to talk about today. So with that also, you don't have to sway with the kind of question, and you don't have to feel nervous about it. All you have to do is apply the same logic of parajumla that we have been discussing in the classroom. XAT is going to give you 2 to 3 questions. Sentences will be long, right? So the sentences may be up to 3 lines. One sentence may be up to 3 lines, right? But the best part is links are easy to identify. As long as you can read thoroughly, you can read quickly you can easily find the links. So links are always there in these sentences only. If there are not logical links, there are definitely linguistic links, right? So read those sentences quickly. You will be able to decipher the link and ultimately you will be able to come up with your right answer. SNAP, very doable parajumbal questions. All right. So this is how you can get a fair idea about the parajumbal question. Let's start discussing the questions now. Now, as I said, IIFT 2019 gave 3 parajumbal questions. Now here, as I said, very clearly you can find the links. So this is one link which I have boldfaced. Those who understood the symbolism, right? So here we are talking about those specific people who understood the symbolism. Now let's try to find out the opening statement. So as we have been employing this strategy for parajumble, identifying the opening statement, a neutral statement, this seems to be beginning the topic of the sentence. Let's see. So your option is either A, B is the opening statement. Particular finger position or gesturing of the hand common to their age and civilization. It's not your opening statement. There is definitely not giving me any reference. So A is not your opening statement. B is clearly your opening statement. So you're left with 2 options, either B or C. Now you have to find out whether B is followed by D or A and your job is done. You don't have to see it further. B says, since ancient times, hands have been used in cave paintings, drawing, sculpture and fine art as symbols of communication. So this gives me a neutral idea, opening statement. Now what it should be followed by, A or D? A says, particular finger positions or gestures of the hand common to their age and civilization. So here we are talking about those people who used hands. So there is getting reference. Delivered a message that was instantly recognized by those who understood the symbolism, perfectly connecting, perfectly gelling with each other. Let's read D as well. D as well. D says, ancient Egyptian and Semitic art, for example, depicted celestial power by a hand painted in the sky. Now this is definitely an example. The idea is not settled yet. The idea has been introduced by B. It has to be settled by explanation, by some kind of progression, and then you give example to support that extended idea. So very clearly, if you have this basic understanding of paragraph formation, you can easily come to your answer, that is B. So sentences are long, but you don't have to be puzzled. As long as your basics are right, your fundamentals are clear, you can still come up with your answer, and that too without reading entire paragraph or entire sentence. You can come up with your answer quickly. Alright, so answer is B. So always look for these links which are always there in every paragraph. One more question from IIFT last day. In this question again, I have boldface some link that you don't have to miss. Now again, either your paragraph is beginning with B, A, B, C, D. So you have all the options. So let's look at A first. Some people are born with greater possibility or potential intelligence than others. Could be the opening statement. Intelligence is improved by learning. It is no longer thought that intelligence is a general quality underlying all behavior and inherited wholly from the parents. Now look at this sentence. D. However, this potential is giving me clear link, right? Now this potential is connecting with A because A is talking about potential intelligence. So A and D basically becomes my mandatory pair, right? So A and D. What should be the position of my first 2 statements or other statements? So C says it is no longer thought that intelligence is a general quality underlying all behavior and inherited wholly from our parents. B. Intelligence is improved by learning. Now this is how these 2 ideas are connected. It is not inherited. It can be improved by learning. So what you are born with, you don't have to be satisfied with that kind of intelligence. You can improve by learning. CB. Very clearly linguistic link. And then you have AD. Some people are born with greater possibilities or potential intelligence than others. However, this potential may not develop. This potential clearly connects with A. So AD becomes your your mandatory pair, and CB is your another mandatory pair beginning with C. Answer is your D. Alright, so IIFT, don't get carried away. If you feel that the sentences are long and they are not doable, not manageable, as long as you read carefully, find your inherent link, you will get your answer. I took one more question and see there are three clear indicators of connection of sentences. A statement also wants, so there has to be an idea of wanting before this statement. The commission also wants insurer, right? So this is not your opening statement. So D is eliminated. Look at B. A shake-up of the new law governing the industry across Europe. Which industry? We have already discussed this idea that whenever the is there before a common noun, that is not going to be your opening statement. So industry is a common noun. There has to be a statement before this, preceding this statement, which establishes the idea, and then this is taking it further by calling it the industry across Europe, right? So understanding of this rule of parajumble will give you some idea about eliminating your opening statement. So B is also not your opening statement. Look at C now. Plans were announced by the European Commission that should lead to greater competition in the vehicle insurance market. Vehicle insurance market is referred to as the industry in later statement. So CB becomes your mandatory pair. So this announcement by European Commission, vehicle insurance market. A shake-up of the new law governing the industry. Which industry? Insurance market. CB becomes your mandatory pair. CB is only there in one option. Answer is B. Now, look at D. It should mean that companies are no longer able to restrict the length of time motorists may keep their vehicle in EU states, other than the ones in which they are registered. The Commission also warns. So this is our one more pair. So you validate your answer by marking B. Alright? So very clearly, clear indicators, clear connectors, clear logical links are there in all the questions. All you have to do is read carefully, scan these words carefully, because you already know what these connectors are, right? So if a common noun is beginning with the, that's going to become your connector. If a statement is beginning with then, that becomes your connector. However, but also these, they are already connectors, right? So always try to see the preceding statement which should connect with that connector. All right. So IIFT parajumble question. Now, as I said, IIFT also is going to test your parajumble through different means. So here, in one of these years, 2018, IIFT gave this question, which is testing nothing but parajumble only, right? So if one sentence has been fragmented in different parts, you will have to arrange in a clear sequential order. So Nelson Mandela. So this was the part which was not supposed to be considered to answer. So which sentence should go after this, right? So either C or B. So Nelson Mandela and could run anew. So that's definitely not the answer. So with B, your options are eliminated. That is C and D. Now Nelson Mandela shifted the beliefs of the people. With C, you have two options, A and B. He shifted the beliefs of the people, followed by B or D. D or B will give you your answer, right? So Nelson Mandela shifted the beliefs of the people so they could heal the racial conflict. And then and could run a new modern country in modern way. Alright, so with that you come to your answer B. Very easy to identify. Alright, so these questions are very easy to do. Just because they come in a new form, they come in a different flavor, don't get confused that this is something else and you need to apply different skills. Nothing but parajumble. You just have to apply the same things. Now, as I said, this is also one of the ways IIFT has employed to make things complicated, to make questions look complicated, right? So instead of 1, 2, 3, they use these words. to number statements. So first statement is 6 statements are given. All you have to do is arrange the rest of the statements. So having started, so what it should be followed by? Third statement or first statement? That's what is the option. So having started with just 5.8 million, or having started in less time than it takes. What takes? So possibly is not, first is not the statement which should come after first. It should be third. Having started with just 5.8 million. The third should be followed by what? 5.8 million in seed financing, right? So that's how the statement which goes with finance is million, right? So the money amount and with seed financing. So D is having started with just 5.8 million in seed financing, you squandered, you wasted in less, so more than half of your capital in less than time it takes to soft boil an egg. Quickly, you wasted, you squandered so much money, right? That's the whole sense, and very clearly answer is D. So as I said, it appears to be a very difficult part, but it is nothing but parajumble, right? So this is how IIFT is going to compound the challenge. It's going to make it look complicated, but it is not complicated, right? So that's the whole message I want to clear. I want to drive home very loud and clear that these exams will play with your perception. When you look, because you have been accustomed to looking at parajumble in a different way. ABCD statement options are this way. You are not, habitual of watching parajumble questions this way. And this is all perception. It changes your visual perception of parajumble question, right? Just to confuse you, just to trick you. So what you have to stick to is those basic understanding which you have acquired for doing parajumble question. Stay true to that and get your answer. So this is parajumble question. It appears in all these 3 exams that we are targeting, and for ZAT you will have to find logical links as well as linguistic links, right? So statement को पूरा पढ़ के आपको देखना पड़ेगा कि what is the content of this statement and how it is connecting with second statement, alright? Since I'm going to have a discussion of all ZAT papers, at least from 2017, 18, 19, that is why I have not taken up those questions in today's discussion, but I'm going to have a dedicated sessions to discuss ZAT papers, previous year papers. So in that, I'm going to have a discussion on parajumble question as well, alright? Statement-based questions, now they will appear in IIFT and SNAP. They will not come in ZAT. Statement-based questions are going to be syllogism, logical consistency, assumption, strong and weak arguments. Sometimes course of action is also there. So 2 statements are there. You will have to figure out 2 statements are there and a situation is there. A situation which is usually a problem scenario. So on the basis of that situation, you will have to identify which course of action is going to address the problem in the most effective way. So course of action. It appeared in IIFT, it also appeared in SNAP. These questions do not appear in ZAT. So if you are specifically targeting ZAT, you can easily skip these questions. So let's look at these questions. Now this appeared in IIFT last year. The statement below is followed by 3 outcomes, number 1, 2, 3. An outcome is either a step of administrative decision to be undertaken for improvement or a follow-up for further action or natural response by stakeholders. On the basis of the information provided in this statement, everything mentioned in this statement is to be assumed to be true. On the basis of which the most logically followed course of action has to be decided. Alright, now look at this statement. The City Council of Brownwood City has decided to install a plant of mineral water to provide the citizens mineral water bottles at $1 per bottle as against bottle costing $1.5 being sold by local private players, right? So this is what has been decided by a city council. They are going to provide water at cheaper rate than the private players are providing. That is what is the situation. Now 3 statements are there. You will have to decide which should be the correct course of action. First, all the local private companies selling bottled waters in Brownwood City will have to close their operations. Now this is very far-fetched, because just because City Council has decided to give or provide water at a cheaper rate, that does not mean that private players are going to stop their operation or close their operation. They might become competitive and they would also reduce their pricing to stay in the market, right? So, I mean, from the statement only, you cannot figure out whether this is going to happen or not, right? So they are also going to reduce their prices to stay in the market, to survive in the market. So that's how they are going to compete with City Council. Alright, so first is definitely not the answer. The City Council of Brownwood City will have to provide for the losses from this project in its budget. Right? So, of course, the losses are going to be incurred because the private players are going to incur losses, and possibly Brownwood City Council will also face losses because it is providing on a very cheaper at a very cheaper cost. So from the statement only, you cannot infer whether the Brownwood City will have losses or not, right? So this information that is provided from in the direction as well, it's very clear that you have to base your understanding on the basis of the information. So we assume it that since it is providing at a cheaper cost, it is definitely bearing losses. Or since these private players are going to face loss, it will have to compensate them in the coming budget. This is what we are assuming. Question does not say anything of any sort, right? So that is why B is also eliminated. So for critical reasoning, the thumb rule has always been stick with the information provided in the paragraph or in the passage. That is going to ease the task of fetching answer. If you infuse your reasoning with your own assumptions, with your own prejudice, you're definitely going to be enmeshed in your subjective understanding, and that is going to lead to wrong answer. So you better stay away from doing that. So here we assumed कि government को कुछ ना कुछ देना पड़ेगा, but that's not what statement is saying. Third, the normal tap water supply of Brownwood City will have no takers and that will have to be discontinued. So यहाँ पे अगेन हम ये अज्यूम कर रहे हैं कि गवर्नमेंट क्योंकि मिनरल वाटर जो है वो सब्सिडाइज रेट पे देने वाला है, कम रेट पे देने वाला है, तो जो टैप वाटर है उसकी जरूरत लोगों को नहीं पड़ेगी. अगेन वी आर अज्यूमिंग that all people are going to buy that water only, and the department which supplies tap water has to be discontinued. Again, we are assuming that. Nowhere the statement says that. So answer is basically none of these 1, 2, 3. Right? So course of action, usually a step is taken, a decision has been made, or a problematic scenario is there. So in order to address that problem, what should be the feasible solution, which is going to effectively deal with the problem. So here, none of these is actually dealing with the problem, right? The problem is going to be with the companies, private players which are providing. So what should be the right solution to go with? But none of these options is actually dealing with that. Answer is none of these, right? So course of action, always address the core of the problem. So here the problem was for private player. None of the options is dealing with that. Okay, so one more question. In the question below, a statement is followed by 3 assumptions. I hope all of you know what assumption is. Now, assumption is the basis of an argument. The underlying statement which you do not read in an argument, which you do not listen in a conversation, but that's there. That's always there, right? It is in the backdrop of the statement, something which is taken for granted, right? So I hope all of you have done the basics of critical reasoning, and the basic of critical reasoning is understanding assumption, right? So this is a very common question which appears in different exams, finding the assumption of statement. Now let's go through the statement. It is believed by many economists that to realize a 7% GDP growth rate in India, which is very much attainable, the gross fixed capital formation in the country must increase to 30% of GDP from the present level of 28%. So to simplify this whole paragraph, ऐसा बहुत सारे इकोनॉमिस्ट ऐसा बिलीव करते हैं कि अगर हम 7% GDP growth rate करना चाहते हैं, जो हो सकती है, तो हमें अपना ग्रॉस फिक्स रेट, कैपिटल फॉर्मेशन रेट जो है, जो अभी 28% है, उसको 30% पे बढ़ाना पड़ेगा. दैट्स व्हाट दिस होल आर्ग्यूमेंट इज. दैट्स व्हाट दिस होल आर्ग्यूमेंट सेज. ठीक है. सो 7% जीडीपी ग्रोथ के लिए ऑथर बोल रहा है हमें अपना ग्रॉस फिक्स कैपिटल फॉर्मेशन 28% से 30% बढ़ाना पड़ेगा. नाउ on the basis of this statement, what can be safely assumed? Look at first statement. The target of 7% GDP growth is not feasible. It is very much against the author's essence. He says which is very much attainable. It means इसको attain किया जा सकता है, इसको accomplish किया जा सकता है. So first is not the answer. GDP growth rate is directly related to capital formation rate. Now most of you would assume this is going to be the assumption, right? And this is where examiner is going to play with your perception. Now, when it says the GDP growth is directly related to capital formation rate, how is it related? What is the relationship? The direct relationship could also be कि ये चीज़ बढ़ती है, ये चीज़ कम होती है. डायरेक्ट रिलेशनशिप ये भी है कि ये चीज़ बढ़ती है तो ये भी चीज़ बढ़ती है. डायरेक्ट रिलेशनशिप ये भी है कि ये चीज़ कम होती है तो ये भी चीज़ कम होती है. How are they affected? How are they related? Sorry. How does one influence the other? So when I say unemployment and crime rate are directly related, right? So when I say when unemployment rises, crime rate also rises. This is how they are directly related. I give you the relationship, right? So when I say higher unemployment rate leads to higher crime rate, so that's how they are related. Same way, I can say lower unemployment rate will lead to lower crime rate, right? So that way, how are they related? Directly related hai, lekin what is the relationship? Does it lead to higher? Does it lead to increase? Does it lead to decrease? Does it lead to stability? Does it lead to, equitable thing? So that way, the statement is not giving you that information. They are related. But how are they related? The higher is gross fixed capital formation, higher will be the growth rate in India. That's what author's statement is. It does not say that. So very clearly, if that statement had been there, that would have been assumption. It says it's directly related. That's why it's not the answer. Third, the GDP growth rate in a country is the only indicator of country's economic development. That's also extreme statement. Only indicator. Nowhere paragraph says this is the only way through which you can measure a country's economic development. No. Fine? So answer is going to be none of these. Right? So assumption is anything which is based on the statement, which is the basis of the statement, which is underneath what is said. It is unsaid premises. So something which is unsaid on the basis of which something is said. So unsaid part is your assumption. So here a couple of things are unsaid because they leave on your interpretation. But you have to interpret on the basis of what is stated. So here they are related, but how are they related? Higher gross fixed rate leads to higher growth rate. Right? So that's how answer is none of these. Now these questions appeared in SNAP. Look at how you can find out the argument. Given statement is the new amendment of corporate social responsibility in India refers to bringing an overall positive impact on the communities, cultures, societies, and environments. The fundamentals of CSR rest on the fact that not only public policy but even corporate should be responsible enough to address social issues. So CSR, corporate social responsibility, उसको लेके न्यू अमेंडमेंट किया है गवर्नमेंट ने, जिसमें गवर्नमेंट ने ये सोचा है कि इसका एक पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट होगा कम्युनिटीज़ पे, कल्चर पे, सोसाइटी पे और एनवायरनमेंट पे. जो बेसिक फैक्ट है, जो इसका आधार है CSR का, वो ये है कि सिर्फ पब्लिक पॉलिसी नहीं लेकिन कॉर्पोरेट को भी रिस्पॉन्सिबल होना चाहिए सोशल इश्यूज को एड्रेस करने में, ठीक है, इसीलिए कॉर्पोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नाम दिया है उसको. नाउ लुक एट आर्गुमेंट फर्स्ट. Government should not enforce companies to take up CSR. Now, amendment हुआ है. In India, it refers to bringing in overall positive. So, if it is not enforceable, if it is not an obligation for corporates, why would they be willing to do anything for public good? Or why would they take any initiative to do some social good? Right? So, possibly this argument is not a strong argument, right? So unless you make it mandatory, unless you make it binding for corporate world, they are not going to take it up. So it's a weak argument. Second, companies' moral responsibility is to take up CSR for a long run benefit. So if social issues are addressed, social issues like illiteracy, unemployment, environment degradation, or other social evils, if they are addressed, corporates also run in the ecosystem of society. So if these problems are addressed, they are also going to get benefited in long run. So this possibly gives a strong reason for the corporates to take it up willingly, voluntarily. So that is why it's a strong argument, because it's also going to benefit companies. It's moral responsibility to take up CSR for a long run benefit. So they are going to benefit, and if they are taking it up, they will be seen as moral, correct, right? So look at the answer. Argument second is correct, but argument one is wrong. That's the answer. Argument one is correct, but argument second is wrong, but argument second is absolutely correct. Both the arguments are false? No. Both the arguments are correct? No. So the tenet of choosing the correct argument, whether it's a strong argument or it's a weak argument, is basically how reasonable that argument is. Is it based on someone's assumption? Is it based on someone's prejudice? Is it based on someone's own opinion? Or it's based on reasoned analysis? Alright, so here a statement is definitely disapproving the whole idea, and it is also actually contradicting the whole paragraph. So if the amendment is made, and if government is basing this on the idea that it's not public policy but also corporate social responsibility to address social issue, that means they will have to take it up, right? So that was based on some kind of opinion. That's why first was not the strong argument, second is a strong argument because it gives you a reason to believe that it should be taken up by CSR. So strong and weak argument basically can be ascertained on the basis of how reasonable they are. Okay, now comes syllogism. Now this is a very easy topic of reasoning, and basically this is the basis of reasoning, right? So if you are clear with syllogism, deductive logic is going to be easy for you, deductive reasoning is going to be a cakewalk for you, and many questions based on paragraph as well will be easier for you if you are clear with deductive logic. CAT does not test this, ZAT does not test the logic, but IIFT and SNAP have been giving questions based on deductive logic, right? So inductive logic, deductive logic. Sometimes ZAT gives you questions to identify the pattern of reasoning. So you basically don't have to apply deductive logic, but you have to see whether this statement reflects deductive logic or not, or whether this statement has inductive logic or not. So that way, you also need to be clear with the definitions of deductive and inductive logic, right? So come to this question. It's going to be a very easy question. Choose the conclusion which logically follows from the given statement. So two statements are given. All branches are leaves as well as flowers, right? So I hope all of you know how to draw these diagrams. I'm sorry I don't have the pad as of now to draw the diagram. So all branches are leaves as well as flowers. So branches are inside, and outside there are two circles, leaves and flowers. Second statement says all leaves are flowers. So that means the leaves and flowers is going to be single circle, but not branches, right? So they are not going to merge with branches. So there are going to be two circles, branch inside outside there are leaves and flowers. Now look at the statements. All branches are leaves, right? So branches are inside, leaves are outside, so all branches are leaves. So that's true. Second, all leaves are branches, right? So now this statement is saying that all B are A. When we say all A are B, so all B are A is not correct. Some B are A is correct, right? So this statement is just saying that. That's why this is not the answer. All leaves are not branches. Third, all flowers are branches. It very clearly said all leaves are flowers but not branches. So third is also not the conclusion. Fourth, some leaves are branches. Yes, all branches are leaves. Some leaves are automatically branches. So that way your answer is first and fourth, and that's your answer B. Right? So basic concept of syllogism. One more question. All tigers are lions. So inside tiger, outside lions. All lions are horses. So after lion, you have another circle of horses. No horses are monkeys. So outside all three circles, you have another circle of monkey. Monkey is outside lion, tigers and horses. That's what is the situation. Look at the answers now. All tigers are horses. Now first is definitely true because all tigers are horses, all tigers are lions are horses, so all tigers automatically becomes horses. Second statement, no tigers are monkey. So monkey is outside the circle of horses. So if it is outside the horses, it can never merge with tiger. So no tigers are monkey. That's also true. Some lions are tiger. Yes, all tigers are lions, some lions automatically are tigers. Fourth statement, some monkeys are not tigers. Actually, no monkey is a tiger. The tiger is inside and monkey is outside the horses. It can never interject with monkey, tiger. So no monkey is tiger. That could have been the correct option, but this is not the correct answer. So answer is 1, 2, 3. And with that, your answer is B. It says 1, 2 and 3. Alright. So basic understanding of syllogism and your practice will ensure that you will get your answer. Okay. So SNAP, a bit of paragraph based reasoning, but again based on our statement only, finding argument 1 and 2. LPG subsidy is a stand taken by the government. Linking of Aadhaar card to a bank account has been made mandatory for receiving the subsidy. So that's what we have been told. Okay? Now, argument 1. All people should give up LPG subsidies. Now, what we have been told is LPG subsidy का जो position है वो government ने लिया है. Linking of Aadhaar card जरूरी है आपके account से अगर आपको subsidy receive करनी है. बस हमें ये दो information दी गई है. इसके basis पे क्या ये argument hold करता है कि all people should give up LPG subsidy? Completely far-fetched. Something which is not at all related. Second, to fill the gap between poor and rich, this step has been taken up. Right. Again, our assumption is there. Our outside information possibly dictates us towards this answer, towards this argument. But has it been mentioned in the argument itself? Has it been mentioned in the paragraph itself? No, nothing has been stated. जो ये गवर्नमेंट का डिसीजन है वो इसलिए किया गया है ताकि पुअर एंड रिच के बीच में गैप को कम किया जा सके. Alright, so here look at the options. Argument 2 is the output of argument 1. Both are not related. Argument 1 is the byproduct of argument 2. So byproduct means this is a larger argument from which this argument can be taken up or further can be deduced. That's also not the situation. One is talking about bridging the gap between poor and rich. Another is talking about giving up the LPG subsidy facility. Third, argument 1 and argument 2 are complementing to each other. Complementing is they are completing each other. That means there is one flaw in first which is possibly completed by the second. That's also not the answer. Answer is fourth. No logical link between argument 1 and 2 can be figured out. Alright. So very clearly answer was D. So keep your logic intact. Don't get swayed by your own thinking, your own feelings or your own position about the issue. LPG subsidy, you may have your own position, but those who are affluent, those who can afford a cylinder, they should give up the subsidy. But has it been stated in the paragraph? No. So don't let that understanding or your own opinion on the issue dictate you to choose a specific answer. Stay away, refrain from doing that. Come what may, you have to base your answer strictly on the basis of what is stated in the paragraph. Alright? Now, this was a question which appeared in SNAP. It was a bit tough question. All German philosophers, except for Marx, are idealists. Now, you may see that this is a paragraph-based reasoning, but this is not paragraph, it is again syllogism only. Right? So, all German philosophers, except for Marx, are idealists. All German philosophers are idealists, except Marx. On the basis of this, what can be deduced? First, except for Marx, if someone is an idealist philosopher, then he or she is German. Now this is just reversing the situation. All A is B, that means all German philosophers are idealists except Marx. So that's the situation is. Now this is just reversing the situation. A says, except for Marx, if someone is an idealist, then he is a German. Whereas we have been told all German philosophers are idealists, all A are B. So A is saying all B are A. So that's not answer. A is eliminated. Look at B. Marx is the only non-German philosopher who is an idealist, whereas he is a German philosopher. Right? So this statement is actually clearly contradicting the statement. C. If a German is an idealist, then he or she is a philosopher, as long as he or she is not Marx. So this seems very convoluted, but this is actually the answer. Now let me paraphrase it. If it's German is an idealist. Now German is an idealist, that's what we have been told by the situation. All Germans, philosophers are idealists. So if German is an idealist and he is a philosopher, so the author could have written this, if German philosopher is an idealist. So it would have been easier, but their job is to make it very difficult for you. So if a German is an idealist and he or she is a philosopher, as long as he is not Marx, because except Marx, every German philosopher is an idealist. So this is just the restatement of given statement, but in a very difficult, convoluted way. Alright? So SNAP had a very smart way to put up this question, but yeah, you can still fetch your answer. Marx is not an idealist German philosopher. Now this is just reverting the situation. German philosophers are idealists, right? And it combines idealist German philosopher. That's how it actually distorts the whole content or whole idea given in the statement. That's why B is also not the answer. Right? Fine. One more question, then we will do paragraph based reasoning questions. Alright? All good athletes who want to win are disciplined and have a well-balanced diet. Right? So again, syllogism only. You will be surprised to see how syllogism actually help you in doing paragraph based reasoning questions as well. So all good athletes. So good athlete who want to win. So that's in your circle, inside circle. So all good athletes who want to win are disciplined and have a balanced diet. Okay? So inside circle, good athlete who want to win. Outside is they are disciplined and have balanced diet. Right? Therefore, the conclusion is athletes who do not have well balanced diet. Now there is another circle outside these two circles. Who do not have well balanced diet are bad athletes. Right? So we have four circles basically. Good athletes who want to win are well disciplined and have balanced diet. Another circle is therefore who do not have well balanced diet. Inside circle who do not have well balanced diet are bad athletes. So two figures. Based on the sentences above, which of the following statements strongly support the view? No bad athletes wants to win. We have been told two things. Those who do not have well-balanced diet are bad athletes. Whether they have the aspiration to win or not, we haven't been told anything. Answer A is not the answer. Option A is not the answer. No athlete who does not eat a well-balanced diet, that means Those who do not have balanced diet. Second circle is a good athlete. Yes, they are not a good athlete because they are bad athlete. Restatement of the same statement. Third, every athlete who wants a well-balanced diet. No, we have been told good athlete who want to win. Not every athlete. This is generalistic, very generalistic. Whereas the statement which we have drawn is, the statement which we have figured is all good athlete who want to win. Whereas C says every athlete, very generalistic. C is eliminated. D also says all athletes who want to win are good athletes. No, all good athletes who want to win have balanced diet. Syllogism to do these questions as well. So don't take syllogism very lightly. It makes the basis for your deductive reasoning. It makes the basis of your basic logical understanding, right? So do it extensively, be through with the concept, attend classes, and do as many exercises as possible. And you will be surprised to know that even paragraph-based reasoning can be done with syllogs. Now, last part is paragraph-based reasoning questions. They are going to be a bit more challenging because you have to read, you have to absorb message, you have to assimilate the information thoroughly, and then on the basis of that, you will have to approach the question. Now, approach the question may be in different ways. Sometimes it may ask you to find a flaw, it might ask you to strengthen, might ask you to weaken, it might ask you to find a paradox in the reasoning. Different ways just to test one thing, that whether you are able to understand the line of reasoning of the argument, right? So the focal point of the examiner to give you critical reasoning is to test your line of reasoning, whether it is free from assumption, it is free from prejudices, it is free from your own feelings or not. Are you being subjective, or are you being absolutely objective while doing these questions? ZAT is going to test your critical reasoning very extensively and intensively, because it gives you questions which are very difficult to do, sometimes very difficult to do. 4 to 5 questions. IIFT 2 to 3 questions. SNAP will also give you 2 to 3 questions, paragraph-based reasoning. So overall reasoning will have at least 7 to 8 questions in these exams. SNAP, look at this question. Cars are safer than planes. This is the conclusion of the argument. 50% of plane accidents result in death. Why they are safe? Author gives you this statistic. 50% of plane accidents result in death, while only 1% of car accidents result in death. Alright? So the author's premises comes in the later part of the argument. His conclusion comes at the very start of the argument. The first statement itself is the conclusion. Why are they safer? Because 50% of plane accidents result in death, only 1% of car accidents result in death. Now, which of the following, if true, would most seriously weaken the argument about? In order to weaken, you always have to understand author's assumption. If you don't understand the assumption, you won't be able to strengthen and weaken. Because you don't weaken or strengthen what is stated. You always weaken or strengthen the basis on which the argument is stated. Right? Now, what is his assumption here? Basically, he assumes here कि percentage अगर कम है तो actual number accident का भी कम है, और percentage ज़्यादा है तो actual number भी ज़्यादा है. Actual number ज़्यादा है या कम है, इसी वजह से कार जो है वो safer है plane से. Right? He forgets to take into account the actual number of cars and actual number of planes. Now, what if there are 100 planes? And what if there are million cars flying on the road, running on the road, and there are only 100 planes? Now, how the percentage is going to translate into numbers? Now, 50% of plane accidents result in death. 50% is going to be 50 out of 100 planes. 50%, that means 50 plane accidents happen. Millions of cars, even 1% of that is still going to be million, 1,000. So the actual number is way more than the number of planes. That means cars are not safe than planes. So here the author is assuming that less percentage translate into less number, whereas highest percentage will translate into higher number. That is not the case. And on the basis of that assumption only, you can weaken the author's argument. So here, look at the options now. Planes are inspected more often than cars. So author does not give you the reasoning that because they are inspected more, that is why they are safe. No, author gives you only one reasoning. Number, percentage. On the basis of percentage, he comes to the conclusion cars are safe. Nothing has been talked about the security concerns. Second, the number of car accidents is several 100,000 times higher than the number of plane accidents. So this actually clearly weakens his argument that cars are not safe because ultimately number is higher. Though the percentage is less, but number is higher. Pilots never fly under the influence of alcohol, while car drivers often do. Now, nowhere the argument says they are safer. The planes are safer because of pilots, and cars are not safe because of drivers. He did not give any of this kind of reasoning, and that is why we cannot weaken on the basis of this part. Had he said anything about the drivers and the pilots, we could have considered this, right? Plane accidents are usually the fault of air traffic controller, not pilots. Now here, he did not say anything about what causes plane crashes or what causes car accidents. And not pilots, but other people are responsible. He did not say actually that pilots are responsible. He said that cars are safer than planes because of percentage. So very clearly, जो उसने बोला ही नहीं है, उसके बेसिस पे हम उसको वीकन भी नहीं कर सकते. हम किसी को गलत उसी बेसिस पे साबित करेंगे जो उसने कहा है. जो उसने कहा नहीं है, हम उसको डिसअप्रूव कर ही नहीं सकते. That's the basic understanding of weakening and strengthening. जो उसने कहा नहीं है, हम उस पे उसको रिफ्यूट नहीं कर सकते. तो उसने ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं बोला. बेसिकली उसने परसेंटेज की बात की. वी हैव टू स्टिक टू द नंबर्स. ऑलराइट, सो पैराग्राफ बेस्ड रीजनिंग, एंड दिस इज द फ्लॉ ऑफ डेटा, राइट? There are different flaws that you will eventually figure out when you start doing your critical reasoning question. One of the flaws is data or number fallacy. Yeah, this is number fallacy. All right. ZAT. People who work in law, hotel, food services, and technology were found the most likely to skip breakfast daily, according to a recent study. So, एक recent study में हमें ये बताया कि law में, होटल इंडस्ट्री में, फूड सर्विसेज में और टेक्नोलॉजी में, आईटी में काम करने वाले जो है अपना ब्रेकफास्ट इजीली स्किप कर लेते हैं, ऑलमोस्ट डेली स्किप करते हैं. As for people who do eat breakfast and prefer a savory type like egg, the study found they tend to make more money, be night owls, and prefer cats over dogs. तो इसी स्टडी ने ये भी पाया कि जो लोग अपना ब्रेकफास्ट करते हैं वो, और कैसा ब्रेकफास्ट करते हैं, सेवरी टाइप लाइक एग, समथिंग विच इज नॉट स्वीट. दे ज़्यादा पैसा बनाते हैं, वो रात तक जागते हैं, और कैट्स को ज़्यादा प्रेफर करते हैं डॉग से. ये वो लोग हैं जो सेवरी आइटम सुबह नाश्ते में खाते हैं. इफ़ यू प्रेफर अ स्वीट ब्रेकफास्ट, अगर आप नाश्ते में स्वीट चीज़ लेते हैं लाइक अ डोनट, यू टेंड टू बी अ मॉर्निंग पर्सन. आप मॉर्निंग पर्सन है, मॉर्निंग में ज़्यादा एक्टिव होते हैं. यू लाइक रोम-कॉम्स एंड यू आर अ डॉग पर्सन. सो ऑपोजिट टू दोज पीपल हु लाइक सेवरी, जो स्वीट लेते हैं, वो सुबह ज़्यादा जागते हैं, सुबह ज़्यादा एक्टिव होते हैं, रोम-कॉम पसंद करते हैं और डॉग पर्सन होते हैं. दिस अपीयर्ड इन ज़ैट लास्ट ईयर. Which of the following can be best inferred based on the above paragraph? Alright. Now, inference has to be based strictly on the information of the paragraph. You cannot infer on your own. You cannot intermingle your own information with the information of the paragraph to come to an inference. Strictly on the basis of the paragraph. So, on the basis of that reasoning, let's approach the questions. IT professionals who eat egg for breakfast. So, egg means savory item. Are more likely to make money, so far it's true, then their counterparts who eat donut for breakfast. जो डोनट खाते हैं यानी जो स्वीट खाते हैं वो मॉर्निंग पर्सन होते हैं, वो रोम-कॉम पसंद करते हैं, डॉग पर्सन होते हैं. वो तीन चीज़ें उनकी कैरेक्टरिस्टिक बताई गई हैं. So far this option seems to be correct. Let's hold it. Second, lawyer who eat savory breakfast. Second one, first one, savory breakfast daily make more money. Yes, those lawyers who have early breakfast daily. Now nobody. Okay, this paragraph did not say anything about taking breakfast early or taking breakfast late. Taking savory item in the breakfast or taking sweet items for the breakfast. So that is how the distinction has been made in the paragraph. So second is actually distorting the information. That's why it cannot be inferred. Third, hoteliers who eat regular breakfast are more likely to make more money. Now, we were told that those who take savory item are likely to make more money, not who eat breakfast every day, because the distinction has been made between items. Not taking breakfast every day and not taking breakfast every day. C is also eliminated. Among regular breakfast eaters, early risers have more sugar in their breakfast than late risers. Nothing of this sort has been stated. The breakfast is there, early riser is there, but author has just given you this option to mislead you. Fourth, last. Preference for cats as pets over dogs usually is a result of eating egg for breakfast daily, right? So it is actually converting or subverting the whole cause and effect relationship. You are eating savory item, that's why you like cat, right? This is just reversing the situation. Answer is A. So as that question, as I told you, it's going to quiz you. It's going to chisel your brain. But yeah, so if as long as you are clear with the basics of critical reasoning, the question can still be done with. One more question which appeared last year. In Australia, jellyfish are most common between November and May. In Hawaii, jellyfish often show up on south-facing beaches 8 days after a full moon. So दो जगहों पे ऑस्ट्रेलिया में एंड हवाई में जेलीफिश कब कब अपीयर होती है देखी जाती है वो बताया गया है. In the Mediterranean, bloom usually appear in the summer. Mediterranean region में summer में दिखती है. Unfortunately for travelers, there is no worldwide database for recent jellyfish sightings. So जो travelers हैं जो jellyfish को देखना चाहते हैं उनके लिए कोई एक particular database नहीं है जिस पे वो देख सकें. And tourism officials are sometimes reluctant to publicize jellyfish swarms. अगर बहुत ज़्यादा मात्रा में होती हैं तो travelers जो tourism officers हैं वो इनके डेटा को नहीं पब्लिश करते हैं. That such news will scare off visitors, right? तो उसकी वजह से वो इस डेटा को पब्लिश भी नहीं करते हैं. So this is what the statement says. Now, which of the following can be best concluded from the above paragraph? On the basis of this information, what can be concluded? First, celestial bodies have an influence on jellyfish sighting. So moon, the sighting of moon has been associated with one in Hawaii. So let's hold it. Economic interest, influence, security, advisors. Is it economic interest? We have not been told anything. The tourism official may have some other interest, right? So it may not be economic interest, it may be something else, right? So this leads us to believe that they must be hiding this data just because they want those tourists to come to their place so that they don't lose the business, they don't lose the money. But nothing of sort has been stated in the paragraph. That is why answer is not B. Tourism officials hide the truth about jellyfish sighting. Are they hiding or are they not publishing the result? So, different way of saying the same thing. Seasonal variations in the marine temperature impact jellyfish sight. It's not stated, nowhere. Tourists visiting north-facing beaches in Hawaii do not spot what happens in south-facing, we have been told. We cannot infer what happens in north-facing, right? Answer is A. Because of moon, we can come to this conclusion. So again, very clearly the thumb rule is the rule which you have to adhere to, come what may. What is stated has to be concluded. What is as stated has to be inferred. Very quickly, one more question. If we can send a human to the moon, why can't we build sustainable cities? A question mark. Defeat cancer, tackle climate change. So author बोल रहा है अगर हम moon पे भेज सकते हैं human को तो ये problem क्यों नहीं solve कर सकते? So go the rallying cries inspired by the one of humanity's greatest achievement. So आप भी उस greatest achievement का हिस्सा बनो. The US effort that put Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on the moon on 28 July 1969. So आप भी जो है उस achievement का हिस्सा बनो. Rallying cry. So rallying cry is to be part of that crowd which is rallying for someone. सो आप भी उसका पार्ट का हिस्सा बनो जो इस अचीवमेंट को सेलिब्रेट कर रहा है, ठीक है. सो दिस इज व्हाट ऑथर्स इंटेंशन इज. क्वेश्चन ये है, स्टेटमेंट इफ ट्रू बेस्ट कम्युनिकेट्स द इंटेंट ऑफ द पैराग्राफ. कम्युनिकेट द इंटेंट ऑफ द पैराग्राफ, इंटेंट ऑफ द ऑथर. ऑथर इज पुटिंग अ रिटोरिकल क्वेश्चन. आप मून पे भेज सकते हो, फिर कैंसर को डिफीट क्यों नहीं कर सकते, सस्टेनेबल सिटीज क्यों नहीं बना सकते, क्लाइमेट चेंज को क्यों नहीं टैकल कर सकते, राइट. सो ऑथर ये क्वेश्चंस पूछ रहे हैं. सो पॉसिबली ही questions this whole thing. Look at the options. America's moonshot initiative was mainly a response to USSR's competing initiative. I'm sorry, I missed the A. America's moonshot was more about race to the moon and less about solving problems. It was possibly solving other problems. Not these problems, but it was solving other problems. That's why it sent people to moon, right? So A is, and author is also positive. He says extraordinary, greatest achievement. So A is also not the answer. He says America's moonshot initiative was mainly a response to USSR's combating initiative. Nowhere discussed. Not an iota of reference has been given of USSR. The reason we celebrated 1969 moonshot is precisely because nothing significant has been done in that domain since then. Again, yeah, something which cannot be the intent of author. वो ये नहीं बोल रहा है कि, because look at the word he has used, greatest achievement. Moonshot has a definite ownership, whereas creating sustainable cities and curing cancer are public good problems. So definitive ownership वो इस तरह से differentiate नहीं कर रहा है. उसका ये कहना नहीं है कि ये जो है वो public good की problems है, so that is why this was not addressed. These problems were not addressed, and this is definite ownership. That is why it was done. E. The complexity of developing sustainable cities and curing cancer is far more than sending a human to the moon. Possibly, this is what author's intent. वो ये बोल रहा है starting में, he's questioning, he's being cynical about this कि अगर आप ये कर सकते हैं तो ये क्यों नहीं कर सकते. So possibly the intent is doing these things is far more difficult than sending a person to moon. Right? So intent, for that you possibly have to understand the tone or the purpose of the author, and that can only be communicated with his writing style. So he's putting a lot of question marks. That means he's possibly not satisfied with this initiative of America. Though it's the greatest achievement, but he said these things were difficult for you to do, but this was easier for you to do, that's why you did it. Alright? So, paragraph-based reasoning question will ask you to do multiple things. Inference, conclusion, strengthening, weakening, finding flaw, what is consistent with author's opinion, everything, right? So as long as you understand it clearly and you apply your line of reasoning there, you can still fetch your answer, right? Now, what topics to cover? Syllogism, logical consistency for SNAP and IIFT, right? Anajumble, of course, for all three exams. Assumption for IIFT and statement and SNAP only, but assumption will also help you in deepening your understanding of critical reasoning. Strong and weak argument for SNAP and IIFT. Critical reasoning for all three exams. And for whichever exam you are going to take, critical reasoning will be part and parcel of it. Critical reasoning will also have a huge bearing on your reading comprehension. So you better do critical reasoning questions. Inference and conclusion finding, right? So that's part of critical reasoning only. What sources to use? Of course, no denying the fact that previous papers will be the most valuable source for you to base your practice on. Especially ZAT papers, because ZAT has a different flavor, it has a different character. So you better, in order to do well in ZAT, you have to base your practice only on ZAT papers, because that kind of reasoning you will not find in any other paper. So if you are targeting exclusively ZAT, XLRI or other allied colleges, base your practice only on ZAT papers. For IIFT and SNAP, you can do all kinds of papers. Even solving CAT papers is going to help you. Solving other papers will also help you. But for ZAT, you have to base your practice only on ZAT. A bit of IIFT also. IIFT भी थोड़ा सा different flavor का exam है. So all papers of IIFT, the best part is all the papers of IIFT are available, right? Because Very recently it has gone online. Earlier it was paper based. सभी paper available है. सालों से exam हो रहा है. You have all the papers available. Base your practice on IIFT papers only. GMAT official guide could be another invaluable resource for you to brush up your critical reasoning concepts. The detailed explanation is given, and the detailed explanation of all the options, all 5 options. So most of the time you have answer key, but the answer key only explains why this answer is correct. It doesn't tell you why the answer you chose is incorrect. GMAT official guide is going to give you explicit explanation of all the options. With that, the insight that you develop, the understanding that you develop will come in a long way in solving those questions later on. Alright, so GMAT official guide, very incredible resource for you to brush up your concepts for critical reasoning. Now, if you want to build your fundamental for critical reasoning, because for CAT you did not do that earlier because CR does not appear directly in CAT. If you haven't not done that, CR Bible could be another fantastic resource for you to build your concepts for critical reasoning. GR Bible, all flaws, all reasoning styles, all patterns of reasonings are given there. The PDF is readily available on internet. You download it and start practicing. The best part is with each pattern of reasoning you have question. So if you're taught one pattern of reasoning like insufficient sample, you will have enough questions to base your practice on. If there is another pattern of reasoning, like let's say hasty generalization, you will have enough questions to work on that. So with that, all the concepts get consolidated and you have adequate practice to feel confident about it. Assumption and conclusion questions that come in SSC, that also come in bank. So if you have access to the actual papers of bank, SBI PO, you can practice from those papers as well. Actual papers of bank and IBPS PO and SBI PO, because these questions also appear in verbal logic there. Besides that, NMAT official guide that is published by GMAT, because assumption conclusion questions appear in NMAT as well. GMAT, the guide, official guide, is also a very good resource for practicing assumption and conclusion questions. Strong weak argument, assumption question, conclusion question are also there. So if you can have an access to that book, because the book is very costly and you may not be taking this exam, NMAT exam, so that way it actually does not make any sense to buy. But if somebody else has access and you can get the Xerox done of those pages which cover this part, your purpose is served, right? So I would advise that for these questions, statement-based question, you can always go for GMAT, because GMAT is again international organization which gives very standardized material for these papers. All right. So here I come to today's session. End of today's session. I hope you had some clarity about these exams and I could give you some confidence about approaching and solving these questions. Do let me know your thoughts and opinion about today's session, and please, as I have been saying in this time slot, if you want me to cover any topic for SNAP, ZAT and IIFT, do let me know, right? From Monday onwards, I'm starting my session again for ZAT and IIFT SNAP preparation. Monday is going to be decision making. I'm going to take up the concept as well as some questions, caselets, which appear in decision making part of ZAT. And there will be a series of special classes on Unacademy platform for addressing the component of these papers, right? So stay tuned on this channel for more such session. We are dedicatedly making session for your help for these exams, right? So that your dream to do MBA this year from a Premier Institute of India is fulfilled. All right. Thank you very much for watching the video. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you.